Week 17 has been, well, it's been something. Your fantasy championships on the line, and wow, we've
Yeah.
got to get to it. Let's get to it.
You got a team, here's a word of the wise. You want to dominate your league? Go to Football Guys.
Football, I'm living in a fantasy. Football, got everybody mad at me. Football, cause every game I had to win. Football, I gotta be a champion. Football, I'm living in a fantasy.
You got everybody mad at me. You got to be a champion, and that's what this week is all about. It's Week 17 instant reactions, fantasy football championship recap here on the Audible. Cecil, Lammey, Sigmund, Bloom celebrating 20 years with our final recap show of the regular season. We won't do one in Week 18. We will do some postseason stuff, so everyone stay tuned for that. Back on our normal routine, Senior Bowl, Shrine Bowl for my final tour this year, 20 years in a row. And excited about that. And yes, we are only going to recap the Sunday games that have happened. There are Sunday games in action right now, Bloom, but we also, at the same time, the fantasy championship week, we're also going to be talking about, yes, even back to Christmas. We're going to be talking about the Saturday, Chargers, Texans. Like, we're going to talk about stuff that impacted today, what you got, what you didn't get. We're here to talk about it all. Yes, sir?
Yeah, and this, again, there's a trend. I don't want to get preachy, but I guess I am kind of preachy up on my soapbox. This feels more like Week 18 than Week 17 has felt. And, I think the writing's on the wall. I hope that the NFL schedule makers and, anybody out there, because I don't have connections at, 345 Park or something like that. But no Week 14 buys. If we just have no Week 14 buys, Week 14, 15, 16, I think we can get fantasy football as a movement to end fantasy football seasons in Week 16 next year. And then if they don't, and we do have Week 14 buys, then I still think that you just have the playoff start in Week 14. This is going to be a debate for the offseason, but it underscores how some of these results felt like justice. Some of these results did not feel like justice. Not that we don't have that along the way in fantasy football, no matter what. But it was a meaningful day, as always, because the players lay it on the line, but one that didn't necessarily make you feel like fantasy football is a meritocracy.
When the headlines read like Shedeur Sanders outduels Aaron Rodgers, and then you look at the numbers, you're like, that's what we're going with. Oh, God, it's Week 18. Wait, no, it's 18. And dude, like you've mentioned, I felt last week felt that way. Like, you don't want to end the fantasy season on a dud. And a lot of these games have dud factors to them. So let's jump in. Arizona, Cincinnati, 37-14, the final score. Bengals get the win. They're 6-10. Cardinals 3-13. Jacoby Brissett, 212, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. Okay, enough. Michael Wilson, 5 for 89 and a touch. Trey McBride, love him so much, 10 for 76 and a touchdown there as well. Nobody else did much anything. The ground game, anytime I got an Arizona Cardinals running back question for fantasy, Bloom, I was like, I'm sorry. Here's your answer. Hopefully it doesn't include an Arizona back. But let's talk about the Cardinals as we wrap up Week 17.
Yeah, and beignets, those of you, Uncle Slayer said, are those cavity and plaque-ridden teeth, which actually is kind of a great connection to make with beignets, with all the powdered sugar. So that was intuitive. What wasn't necessarily intuitive was that Arizona would basically fail to move the ball against the Bengals. Remember that really bad Bengals defense? The Cardinals had 5 3-and-outs, and they had one drive where they got a first down, but still only got 1 total yard. And they had a touchdown when the Bengals just didn't tackle Michael Wilson. There's like, and just kind of threw their bodies at him. And Michael Wilson got a touchdown. And that was basically all of the offense, but the Arizona defense was so bad that there was garbage time. So you had the backdoor covers from Michael Wilson got a few more catches. Not that Trey McBride was not on his way to a decent day in PPR terms, but he got the garbage time touchdown, his 11th of the season. Remember, Trey McBride doesn't catch touchdowns. 11.
Wow.
Jacoby Brissett. And he sets the record for the most tight end catches in a season, which was held by Zach Ertz, actually. So, it's a volume record. Calais Campbell had a sack in terms of Arizona Cardinals, great Arizona Cardinals coming home for this season. Maybe Quinn Ewers isn't that bad because we thought the Bengals defense is so bad. That's why he was able to move the offense. More on that later. But this is how this season worked out. This is how the Jonathan Gannon hire worked out. We might look at the Jacoby Brissett as week 1 starter. He is under contract next year, cheap, for who knows as a head coach. And is it worse if it's Gannon, really? I mean, I don't know. The Kyler Murray decision, Cliff Kingsbury isn't even part of this organization, but obviously that didn't work out. This is where they ended up. They got the number 4 pick right now. They're going to face the Rams next week.
Cincinnati side, and Joe Flacco got into the game. It was 37-14. So Joe Burrow gets 305, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. Jamar Chase getting both the touchdowns, 7 for 60 and 2. T. Higgins 4 for 59. That's enough. If you had Higgins in, you would have liked to score. You'd have liked more, but 459. You got to start T. Higgins. Hopefully you got your championship. Mike Gesicki 2 for 47. Andre Yosevis 4 for 41 in this one. Chase Brown 3 for 40 as a receiver, and then 22 for 101 and 2 touchdowns as a runner. Samaje Perine in that everyone's a what the heck flex. Yeah, he got a rushing touchdown here as well for Perine, also a catch there too. So Cincinnati rolling, making this thing look easy because, well, Bloom, it was.
All right, Cecil, I'm about to do react to me. I want you to react to me, though. Before the game, reports today that teams will call the Bengals about Burrow. React to me.
I think Lamar Jackson is most likely to get moved than Joe Burrow.
Ha! Whoa.
Because of the Lamar Jackson video game. Lamar Jackson's a big kid, everybody. And everyone knows about it. I don't know why nationally it's just starting to get recognition. I think Pro Football Talk had something so everybody's been talking about Lamar, and John Harbaugh's putting on the good face of we're getting along great. If he is falling asleep at meetings, and Harbaugh denied that report, but if that is the case, and he's totally spending all this time playing video games and doesn't they'd move the practice schedule to adjust to Lamar. Now these are rumors, right? Rumblings. I would think that's more headed towards a divorce rather than Cincinnati's just dumb with the way they've treated Joe Burrow. Yeah. And it's let's not really protect him. Let's just whatever. You have this precious gem. I think that we could see a Lamar on the move. And again, this isn't me 3 years before Russell Wilson moved. 3 years before Seattle got sick of Russell Wilson, they were sick of Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
That's how I knew that was coming. I don't have that same information for Lamar. But if I'm just to read the tea leaves, I'd say it might be both, Bloom. It might be both. But we're going to be talking about some quarterback movement, especially when you look at this quarterback class. We were spoiled a couple of years ago with the Caleb Williams class, which is looking so good with Drake May. But my man Bo Nix, the Bo Show. That doesn't happen. Look at these quarterbacks now that are coming out, and we'll get more into the draft and all that, but teams might just go, I'm not going to invest a draft pick. Let's give up 3-4 first rounders. Let's go get Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Let's go get Lamar Jackson. But there's going to be some movement.
Yeah, I think with the Burrow thing, why I feel like it's not 0.0%.
Because it's not.
Yeah. I mean, that we're hearing that, even though it's very carefully worded, teams will call them. That doesn't say anything about the Bengals stance. Is that to appropriately act with a quarterback like Joe Burrow, you have to spend money. You have to open the wallet. You have to be committed. And this is a mom and pop frugal organization. And like you said, a team could come and knock their socks off. And I don't know. I'm a Pirates fan, so I don't put anything past these teams. But Joe Burrow doesn't care. He's triumphant today with Jamar Chase putting on a show early on the first drive on his touchdown. You have, like you said, Samaje Perine gets a touchdown and gets banged up. And you have a lot of Chase Brown after that. You even have at one point, and Andre Yoshevich is pitching in. T. Higgins didn't have a big day, but he still made some plays. At one point, Cody Ford, an offensive lineman, was split out wide, and actually you look like Darnell Washington. Maybe teams need to look a little more into the guys that can catch the ball,
athletic big men.
Yeah, because he ran over some people into the red zone, and they were putting again 12 play drive, 12 play drives, 11 play drive, 10 play drive. So the Cardinals defense was just getting put through the meat grinder because their offense wasn't giving them a chance to get a break. Even a garbage time drive with Joe Flacco was 10 plays. That's how bad the Cardinals defense. Again, Gannon was a defensive coach, right? So, they've got the number 10 pick. I mean, what can you say? I think that you see the duality of the Bengals with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is good enough to basically, even with mediocrity around him, win a Super Bowl. But the Bengals are so disinterested in actual team building that a player like Joe Burrow can stay home for the playoffs.
Okay, Bloom, are you ready to be a neurotic Steelers fan?
Yes, I'm back.
Pittsburgh and Cleveland. This one did not go very well. 13-6. That's right. Hot AFC North talk. 13-6. Browns are 4-12. Steelers are 9-7. But at least Mike Tomlin, blah, blah, blah. Oh, God. Over 500, everybody. Do you get a Super Bowl championship trophy? Do they put a banner for Mike Tomlin being over 500 again? Well, maybe just one banner, right? I don't want to get too greedy, but like every year over. That's not the point. The point of this thing is to win the Super Bowl. Does that look like a Super Bowl team? Oh my God. Losing to the Browns? Okay. Rodgers 168, nothing. Freiermuth 3 for 63. I'm pissed, Bloom. Pissed.
Yeah.
Jalen Warren 12 for 64. What about Kenneth Gainwell ruining his 7 for 26? Oh God. The Steelers are so boring, and there's nothing worse in football and in life than in being bad and boring.
Yeah, today boring. I mean, this hasn't been a boring
all
season
long.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I mean, there's been some
They're okay
games
with being average, and this team. What's the history of the Steelers, Bloom?
Well,
What's the history of the Steelers?
I know. Well,
Bill Cowher Steelers.
I'm coping. You're right. Just it's basically like make the lead hold up. It's always been, whether it's Bill Cowher or Mike Tomlin, you don't have necessarily a forward thinking organization. You have an organization that feels like they discovered a tablet with the 10 commandments of football that is unchanging, right? That's how they behave. Okay. 3 head coaches. I mean, maybe let's stop lauding the organization for only having 3 head coaches in a way, because it implies some sense of loyalty that can stand in the way of change. But at the same time, the Steelers way has gotten them in position to maybe host a playoff game. And you thought this is the kind of game, and it even came down to one drive, Aaron Rodgers and all of his experience. And without DK Metcalf, you knew that this was going to be an offense against a pretty good Cleveland defense that was going to have trouble moving the ball. But then when Darnell Washington goes out with a broken forearm, so that's, I don't know. If there is a playoff game, next week's the playoff game. Darnell Washington, he's not George Kittle or Tucker Kraft or Brenton Strange, but he is important to the offense in a way that when the Steelers have a tight end out there who can actually block, makes a difference. And so nothing as far as fantasy. I guess we can point out here the Steelers running back duo was getting a lot of love on the broadcast, like only duo in the NFL with at least 500 total yards. Okay, that's great. But if that's all you have, this is some of the things that happened in this game today. One of the biggest plays, I think the biggest play on offense, was a counter run off the tush push for Connor Hayward. 4th and 1 at the Cleveland 22, and you throw a deep ball to Scotty Miller. So you pass up a field goal on 4th and 1 to throw a deep ball to Scotty Miller. Guess what? It didn't work. They got an interception and, couldn't even get a field goal off of that because of a false start. On their first last gasp drive, they're targeting Marquez Valdes-Scantling. And let me tell you, Packers fans and Chiefs fans a little bit, but really Packers fans, I know now the pain of the game being on the line and knowing that your quarterback might throw to Marquez Valdes-Scantling, and they were together on the Packers. Why are you throwing to Marquez Valdes-Scantling with the game on the line? But it gets worse because Aaron Rodgers actually makes some throws on the last gasp drive, the true last gasp drive. Freiermuth, making some plays. And then on the last 3 chances to win, you decide to target Marcus Valdez-Scantling against Denzel Ward 3 times in a row. It wasn't even a close on any of them. There was no chance with the game on the line. And that's one of those things where, like, let Aaron do what Aaron's going to do. But that just felt futile. So, yeah, Steelers, Baltimore for the right to lose to the Bills in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Here we go. Shadur Sanders, 186, 1 touchdown, 2 INTs. Jerry Jeudy with 5 for 54. Cedric Tillman, 1 catch, 42 yards. Harold Fannin, 2 for 30 and a touchdown. There's more there with Fannin, and he can get it someday. Eventually, we'll see what this team builds. Dylan Simpson, 11 for 27. Raheem Sanders, 8 for 21. Okay, so they can't run the ball. Efficiently passing the ball, but a couple of picks, not so efficient from Shadur. Again, when I saw the headline, Shadur Sanders outduels Aaron Rodgers, like, oh, that's a duel? 186 compared to 168. Oh, okay. Not exactly Brady Manning here for Shadur versus Rodgers.
No, but I think as strange as the journey has been, Cease, it's been a while since we've watched a team and thought, it seems like the coach doesn't want the quarterback to succeed. That's what it seemed like at times.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, Browns are going to be picking in the top 10, but I think we're going to go into 2026 with Kevin Stefanski as the coach.
Great.
Sanders as the
Way
quarterback.
to go, Browns.
Yeah. Well, but Sanders, in the strange way we got here, he looks like he belongs. He looks like he belongs. I mean, he's got a quick processor. He's courageous. He's athletic enough as a scrambler.
But do you want Stefanski there when he's seemingly actively sabotaging
exactly.
Sanders?
Well, that's the Cleveland. That's the Clevelanded up part of it, you know.
You got something good, but no.
Right. You fell into your lap in the 5th round, the owner. And like you alluded to, Cease, because it was the owner's pick, maybe the owner steps in and puts Kevin Stefanski on the Shadur Sanders purity test and says, like, are you going to work? Are we going to do this? Because you see Sanders making 3rd down conversions. The 28-yard touchdown to Fannin gets hurt on the touchdown. Still, that's enough for fantasy. But also, Fannin has a look, and I was dead wrong about him because he just has a different kind of athleticism. And I because of the level, I should have just looked at those games. Anyway, it's not about me. It's about Fannin. He could be a centerpiece of their pass offense. He could be the number 1 target.
It was so odd, Bloom, and I'll go back to, like, before the draft. I wanted the Broncos to draft him. I mean, he had 1,600 yards, for the love of God, Bowling Green or not. And then I remember super excited about him at the Senior Bowl. And then when you watch him on field, like, his gait is so odd.
Yeah.
But it's almost Antonio Gates-like with the way that he runs. And I'll bore you with some hot Nuggets talk. Spencer Jones is playing now because, like, Christian Brown's hurt and Aaron Gordon's hurt and whatever. Spencer Jones looks like a football player playing basketball. Harold Fannin looks like a basketball player playing football.
Right. Understanding space when bodies are in close contact, which, we think about a separation in the passing game. This is a little bit different. Anyway, Jerry Jeudy have made some plays. Again, Sanders can do some things as a scrambler. They couldn't convert on a 4th down in Pittsburgh territory. You saw the Steelers pass defense. Cease, I'm telling you, having an emotional investment in this game, as soon as it started, here we go. This is another one of those days. Because at bad times, the pass defense was passive. Like, if the rush doesn't get home, even what the Browns have can move the ball on 3rd down, even 3rd and long. And you did have a desperation throw that Sanders would have back for one of his interceptions. Another one, he was hit as he was throwing. Jack Sawyer got an interception. But the Steelers still could only get 6 points on the day, getting 2 interceptions. So we'll see. But Cleveland, you got a quarterback. I have no idea what else you have. I mean, we have Harold Fannin. You have Myles Garrett. Didn't get a sack in this one. And you have the Steelers give them a black eye and really force them to fight for their lives next week.
Yeah, to get beat in the wild card round. But Mike Tomlin's over 500, everybody. They're ridiculous. The Saints. Are the Saints ridiculous? Is Tyler Shuck a real quarterback? Okay. All right. It's against Tennessee. Won't get too excited. And full disclosure, I didn't really like Shuck as a starter anyway. I was like, okay, there's your Jarrett Stidham backup. But Tyler Shuck getting it done. 34-26, the final score. Saints over the Titans. Titans 3-13, Saints 6-10. Shuck 333, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. One of them thanks to Chris Olave, 8 for 119 and a touch, 11 targets. Great job, kid. And then the other one to Kevin Austin Jr., 4 for 52 and a touch. Nobody started him. Juwan Johnson, you started, 4 for 95. Nice. Dante Pettis, 3 for 53. Nobody started. You might have started Audric Estime, 14 for 94 and a touchdown. It's like a week late for Estime. Should have done this last week. But either way, if you made it here, you trusted a few of your Saints, Olave, Johnson, maybe Estime, and maybe Shuck in the 2 QB league. Your Saints didn't let you down, Sig.
Yeah, winning streak. And with no Taysom Hill. Of course, again, it's not about me, Audric Estime was in some of my lineups last week, teams that lost, as it went with Taysom Hill for the New Orleans show. And then you get Estime with the touchdown in this one. Estime showing that he's got a lifespan ahead of him in the NFL, I think, with this opportunity. You like seeing that with a running back like him. Taysom Hill did get the first carry of the game. And at least Tennessee has Jeffrey Simmons. He stopped a drive. And let's make sure to mention that, yes, Tyler Shuck had Chris Olave and Juwan Johnson making some plays, college teammate at Oregon, Juwan Johnson. But otherwise, it's Kevin Austin and Dante Pettis, who fumbled at the end of a drive when they were deep in Tennessee territory. So they could have put even more points on the board. But the first half, it was a slow start. There was a false start. They went with Taysom Hill on 3rd and short. He didn't make it. There was a false start. They had to settle for a field goal. And the offense was actually not moving the ball. Then Chase Young did remember when Chase Young was like the elite defensive prospect in his draft class?
Oh, yeah.
He made the kind of play that we were expecting in the NFL, where he just took the ball away from Cam Ward, just took it from him like it was his lunch money and went to the house for a touchdown. And that really got this team alive. And again, Kevin Austin, Dante Pettis, remember him making some plays. And of course, Chris Olave finally hitting. He had a 60-yarder in this one, hitting his ceiling with Tyler Shuck. Kellen Moore, again, you got a quarterback, you got a head coach, you got a number 1 receiver. I expect him to have a break the bank kind of contract. And you have a top 10 pick, and you're going to have a winning streak in December and going to face Atlanta Falcons. So, kind of rub their face and where they're at as a franchise right now. And again, both these franchises picking in the top 10, but they both should feel good about where they're at.
Yeah, feeling good. I'm feeling good if you're Cam Ward because 251, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. Chigo Okonkwo, 3 for 55 and a touchdown. Kamari DK, 4 for 55. Elika Yomenor, 4 for 37 and a touchdown. Van Jefferson, 3 for 46. Nobody started him. You started Tony Pollard. You got 18 for 85. Okay. Ward also with a couple carries for 10 yards there. So, and Pollard with a couple of catches. So here we go, Tennessee. You've got something in Cam Ward. Some pieces around him. I love Chiggy, but got some more work to do.
Yeah, you had early on, Tony Pollard actually got over 1,000 yards this year. That's pretty impressive considering the team that he played for. Cam Ward, team taking advantage of some things. Chimere Dike breaks Tim Brown's rookie all-purpose yards record, over 2,000 all-purpose yards. That bodes well. Again, the new kickoff rules maybe play a little bit into that, but they got a player there. You saw it. Chigo Okonkwo had a touchdown that Marshawn Lynch would have been proud of. Just get off me if you try to tackle me. It was beautiful. Let's see him being used more in the future. And you saw Ward doing some Houdini acts, even on a play that didn't count. Just really, really impressive stuff. But Chase Young did loom in this game with a sack late as the Titans were playing for pride, and you see that Ward gives this team pride. It gives them an ethos. They need a coach. They need more. They have Jeffrey Simmons on the defensive side of the ball. Those are signature players. Those are players that set the tone. And we'll see where it goes from here. I'll be interested to see which coach. Cam Ward saying, I want to be involved in the head coach search. See, so I think that's actually a rational thing for the organization to do.
Now we'll see if they do it, because I agree with you. That is a rational thing to do. But a lot of teams think they know what's going on when they don't. All right, we got 3 games down, 4 games to go. Recapping the early Sunday games. Got games going on right now. It's the Audible. We're going to, somehow bring up some Saturday stuff, maybe some Christmas stuff. It's an interesting week. It's Fantasy Championship week, and we're here to hang out with you and talk about it, lament, celebrate, whatever you want to do. We're here for you. It is the Audible celebrating 20 years, and we appreciate you. I think we stopped counting episodes Because full disclosure, I always giggle when I see like it's episode 103 of the blah blah blah, and I giggle because we've been doing this for 20 years. When we got our guy Daniel Jeremiah, who was on our show for 2 years, by the way, as we always remember DJ, and like he's the greatest guy ever. Was that our 3,000th episode or 4,000th episode?
Somewhere.
And that was like 3 years ago. So we're well past 5,000. You know, the longest running independent fantasy football show of all time. Actually, we are.
Yeah.
We're the longest running independent fantasy football show of all time, and we couldn't do it without you. So here in this holiday season, hope you had a Merry Christmas. Hope you have a Happy New Year. Anything that you celebrate, we celebrate it with you, and it's footballguys.com. Jacksonville, we celebrate as maybe the only powerhouse in the league. Are they? Well, 12-4, 23-17 over the Colts today. Colts are 8-8. Jags again, 12-4. Trevor Lawrence, 263, no touchdowns, but a pick. Trevor Lawrence, but 2 rushing touchdowns to benefit his fantasy day. Travis Etienne, 76 yards on the ground. Parker Washington, what a revelation he's been the last couple of weeks. 8 for 115, right on. Brenton Strange, 3 for 54. BTJ, Brian Thomas Jr., 4 for 39. This one, Jacoby Myers, 6 for 39. Etienne with a couple of catches here as well. So let's talk about Jacksonville. In a year where there really are no powerhouses, I can't call the Broncos a powerhouse. I know they have 13 wins. Can't call them a powerhouse. Jacksonville, I kind of can. If this is what we're judging the league on, you know, and obviously I have this conversation locally for the Broncos, but like, there's no powerhouses, everybody. But is Jacksonville a powerhouse when there's no powerhouses? Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, and what does that mean that the Phillip Rivers Colts were a tough out for them today? Because both things can be true. But on the Jacksonville side, and the big part of that story, of course, is Trevor Lawrence, and sees why they seem like a dangerous team. And let's face it, the next answer of a team that stands out is on the NFC side, however the seeding ends up, is the Rams, of course. And what do you have with this Jags team is Rams DNA with Gladstone and Liam Cohen. So it's a Rams world, baby. And it's Trevor Lawrence's world. Trevor Lawrence's world in fantasy, 2 easy rushing touchdowns, didn't throw for any touchdowns, but you see it. I mean, you actually see it. Cecil say the game is slowing down for him. It's really happening. Or he's understanding what Liam Cohen is thinking when these plays are designed, and the players are executing. And Trevor Lawrence is executing. So he looks like he's seeing the field very clearly. He's moving very intentionally, still kind of a clunky mover for a quarterback, but an athlete and tough, very tough-minded at the position, and making arm talent throws, making throws from odd platforms, otherwise seeing the field, making the throw that needs to be made, often to Parker Washington. And, you know, it could have been a better offensive day. There was just a little razzle-dazzle, Jacoby Myers lateraling to Travis Etienne in the red zone. Okay, I mean, if you're up 21 points or something, fumbled it. So that early on, you know, they stubbed their toe, and that made this a close game. That allowed the Colts to hang around. But the typical Jacoby Myers did contribute a few catches. Brian Thomas got a little banged up, didn't have the big play, and he's, again, not as important an element as Parker Washington and Jacoby Myers, but that just shows you this offense is about execution. And, of course, Brenton Strange. And they had chances to score touchdowns at the end to really put this away. It said it was Cam Little field goals, who, you know, he's a good field goal kicker. That's important in January, and their defense made stops to win. Yeah. So, you know, it was a little disappointing after what San Francisco's offense did to Lou Anarumo's defense, on Monday night. But still, they did what they had to do. They still have to win next week against Tennessee to clinch the division. But yeah, this is a team that credibly, you know, you could see them going into Denver and winning because they already did it. You could see them going into New England and winning. And it's fun to know that now we might see the good Trevor Lawrence come here to stay.
Yeah, and when you talk about special teams, Bloom, on a Tuesday last week, when I was talking to Coach Darren Rizzi of the Broncos, sick brag, bro. Do you realize, because this number floored me, there have been over 1,500 more plays because of the new kickoff rule. And I'm not a kicker guy, although you're going to need a good kicker. Every game's going to be close in the playoffs. It's anybody's game. except for the Steelers. It's anybody's game except for the Steelers or Ravens. Like you get in the playoffs, you got a good kicker, you can play defense, run it a little bit, like you're gonna go far. But 1,500 more plays because of the new kickoff rule? Yes, please.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
It's been a good change for the NFL, the new kickoff rules.
Yeah.
And it's fun that a different kind of kicker skill is being rewarded, and
Right.
kick returner skill is being rewarded because kick returner is that job. Like, are you crazy enough to do it? But now it doesn't seem so crazy. Now it's kind of like a large scale running play. And I think you're going to see teams that are intelligent about these things start to gain advantages, and anything that adds more strategy is something that we love. And at least for a little while, Phillip Rivers being on the field added more strategy to how do you beat a Colts team that is a tough out when they should feel like their season is over.
Yeah, and 21 carries for 70 yards for Jonathan Taylor, rushing touchdown there. Tyler Warren 5 for 43. Mo Alley Cox gets the 1 touchdown. Josh Downs 2 for 34. MAC 3 for 20 and 1 touchdown there. Michael Pittman 2 for 16. And then Phillip Rivers 17 to 30, 147 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. So took him to the brink. Took those 6 points in the fourth quarter for Jacksonville to get over the top, but that's how they did it.
Yeah, you saw Jonathan Taylor just running so hard. And you had a good kick return. Speaking of that kick return game, they got a field goal with Warren making a little play early. Taylor's touchdown, by the way, he passes Edgerrin James, all-time Colts touchdown scores. Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison, Lenny Moore ahead of him. Pittman had a calf injury, didn't do much, hadn't been doing much with Rivers anyway. And I guess we can chalk up to San Francisco's defense, Phillip Rivers doing some stuff against them on Monday night, because they had a Josh Downs sideline catch, a beautiful sideline catch on 3rd and 10 to get almost to the red zone. Alec Pierce, and then Taylor had a touchdown taken off the board by a holding penalty by Tyler Warren. Alec Pierce drew pass interference in the end zone. And then it was Mo Alley Cox. They were talking about how every time Rivers was under center, it was a running play. They finally passed. It was Mo Alley Cox with the basketball hands juggling it, but catching it. But otherwise, if you predicted that, hey, Phillip Rivers can't necessarily credibly move an offense consistently as a 44-year-old coming off of coaching high school, I mean, eventually you were right. But this team fought so hard. And see, we've watched some teams today that did not fight hard. So it's been a season for the Colts that, they're back at kind of shrugging his shoulders. Sauce Gardner got hurt again in this game, by the way. Sauce Gardner's back. That's what the season was supposed to be about. They're going all in. Now we don't even know who their quarterback is going to be. And it was inspiring to have Phillip Rivers out there, but it was a sign of where they've ended up, like one of those dead ends in the maze. Like, now we have to go back and see if we can find the track again, which is just, it feels sad because it felt like it was going to be the Daniel Jones redemption story.
Yeah, it felt like it was going to be different, but windows, man, windows. That's what teams are trying to take advantage of. Liam Cohen, they miss you.
Yeah.
They miss you, buddy, because Tampa Bay, oh my God, not quite in a way like Detroit and Buffalo's in it and maybe in it to win it. This is their year. Okay, fine, Buffalo, I'm sick of it. Tampa Bay was climbing into the ranks of like Bills, Lions, Buccaneers were climbing into the like, man, are these guys going to roll? With Tampa Bay, the answer's no. And there are those, or let's just say this, Bloom, around the league or around that team, there are those that are wishing like, man, wish they would have fired Todd Bowles and elevated Liam Cohen, because you lose to the Dolphins 20-17, Dolphins 7-9, Buccaneers 7-9. But they look differently. These are both the same record, and they look differently. Baker's out there slinging it 44 times, 346 yards, 2 up and 2 down, 2 touchdowns, 2 INTs. And it's like the thing about fantasy football, she's a wicked mistress. The guys who like the week after, like the Audric Estime, like you just said, like, oh, he did it this week, couldn't do it last week. Can we say the same thing about Chris Godwin? 7 for 108 and a touch. Wait a second, what? Couldn't do that last week? Chris, damn it. Jalen McMillan, 7 for 114. Cade Otton, 4 for 33. Mike Evans, we love him, 3 for 31 and a touchdown. And the fact that Mike Evans, perhaps final season, can't end in a run Like, oh God, what are you doing, Tampa? Mecca Igbokwe 3 for 20. Remember Windows. Buck here. I'm not bringing up any of the running backs. They didn't do anything. Nothing. You got a goose egg except for Chris Godwin and Jalen McMillan, and then a touchdown for Mike Evans. And Baker, he's trying, man, but Tampa Bay, so damn disappointing. Was so excited about the Buccaneers at the start of this year. Not now.
Yeah, and they can still make the playoffs and have a pretty tough game at home. So it's Tampa and Carolina. It's kind of similar to Pittsburgh and Baltimore. These teams aren't credible teams to make a run. And Tampa not being now, Miami's been better in Miami. Let's just say that. And maybe again, the Bengals defense, maybe something's happening with Al Golden's unit there because Quinn Ewers and the turnovers and how the Bengals just rolled against Miami. Even the Steelers did. Remember, it was garbage time. You thought that the Bucs would be able to move the ball consistently. In the first drive, 14 plays. Jalen McMillan, you love after the neck injury, it's been revealed that he had fracture in his neck. Like, it was scary. It was a potentially very scary situation for him. He's out there making plays with this 100-yard game. But, they get to 4th and 1 at midfield, and they take a delay a game and punt. I mean, you got Baker Mayfield. And if you have Baker Mayfield, you would think 4th and 1 at midfield against Miami's defense, like, of course, like there wouldn't even be hesitation. Like the announcer shouldn't even be surprised when the offense doesn't come off the field, and they punted. I don't understand what's going on here, but then Baker Mayfield starts to turn the ball over. That's the thing. Baker Mayfield and just these uncharacteristic things. He's been hurt in the offense, but after what he did last year, it seemed like he was graduating to a new level, not just for fantasy, but as a quarterback who could dictate the terms or find those plays, those 51-49 plays, and know and have the ability to take advantage of them. But for him, that meant playing right at the edge of his ability, and that can start to erode quickly, even against Miami's defense. And you saw that. There was a strip sack by Bradley Chubb that apparently $900,000 sack in terms of incentives for him. So congratulations to the players. They had a goal to go, and they ran the ball on first down, and they dumped the ball off to Rachaad White at like the 10-yard line on second down. You're not even giving Baker Mayfield a chance but the way Baker Mayfield's not taking care of the ball, you see, and some of this might be Todd Bowles, Cease. Some of this might be a clash where Liam Cohen and his way of thinking amplified what Baker Mayfield could do, and now we're out of phase again. So yes, Baker was okay. Godwin was great if he was in. Bucky Irving, he caught 5 passes. But those Baker Mayfield turnovers, it still might seem like a redemption if they win the division next week. But like you said, it's a disappointing season for Tampa, and one that leaves you wondering, like, is this the real Baker Mayfield?
Yeah, who's the real Baker Mayfield, and what do the future hold for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? What does it hold for the Dolphins? And again, people watch the show, but I love Mike McDaniel. Known him since he was a kid. I don't want him to get fired. Are they playing for him? Did they win enough? The owner doesn't really like him, or at least it's never seemed like Stephen Ross, who's always wanted like Jim Harbaugh or Sean Payton. And he got Mike McDaniel. And Mike McDaniel is a pretty good mind for this game. Yeah, he's a nerd or looks like a Starbucks barista or whatever. What annoys me, Bloom, if I may rant, when football guys, like literal football guys that have played, and I can name names if you want me to, when they go on rants about the way Mike McDaniel looks, because like, how's a nerd with Capri supposed to know about this game? I won 3 Super Bowls and blah, 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 blah. Okay, congrats, buddy. Not everyone has to be a meathead for you to be a great head coach. And can McDaniel ever be a great head coach? Probably not. Have we seen the most of Mike McDaniel? Probably, I guess. But he's also been operating with Tua, and that's not great, Bob. So again, a lot of complications here. A lot of this recap is really about like, the theme, the season, and next year, so I can go over the box score, like Devon Achane, 18 for 83, yay! And no one started Theo Weiss, right. Undrafted from Missouri, right? 1 for 63 and a touch. Nobody started Greg Dulcich, 5 for 58 and a touch. Like Achane had 3 catches. So yes. Box score. Quinn Ewers, is that the future? Like, okay, a lot of conversations there, but it's just overall, where is this team at with their head coach? Until we know that, the future is very cloudy.
Yeah, see, you're right to just kind of wander in a circle in a way, because that's how the Mike McDaniel, this era of the team has basically left them with Mike McDaniel. Like, that's the direction of the team. See, it makes me think almost conspiratorially, and this is maybe a sign of the times, that if it's floated out there as it was weeks ago, that Mike McDaniel might be saving his job. Sources around the league, Dan Graziano puts it out there. Sources say Mike McDaniel might be saving his job. And they mention like the crop of coaching candidates coming up, and maybe not the most impressive. And my brain puts that together as like, does Stephen Ross have some sort of plan afoot again? But he needs a year for his guy to become available. Is that basically
John Harbaugh, right? And a year from now, if Baltimore chooses Lamar Jackson over John Harbaugh, because that's how this goes. Quarterback coach conversation, when you have a great combination, when it falls apart at the end, it's like, okay, is it Lamar or is it John Harbaugh? They're going to make a decision. Both of them aren't going to exit together. That would be unlikely. If they make the decision, like, we paid Lamar, let's stick with Lamar, but message has gone stale, John Harbaugh, is Stephen Ross like hanging around because he couldn't get Jim Harbaugh? So now, like, is he hanging around? Would there be a trade? Like, we've seen coaches traded for before, but like, that's where my mind goes with Stephen Ross. He's looking for the big splash. And like, yeah, this McDaniel stuff, that's cute until I can get my big splash, John Harbaugh or whoever it's going to be.
Yeah, and ownership matters.
It does. It does.
Well, and why ownership matters, and why at one point I said this kind of with delight, Cease, that Stephen Ross didn't even want this. He wanted Sean Payton and Tom Brady, and he got Tua and Mike McDaniel. And that 1 year, it looked like Mike McDaniel had found hacks. He had found back doors that spaced out defenses with these fast players and a quick release quarterback and a running game and a fast running back. And it was so exciting. And now, though, they have Mike McDaniel and Devin Achane, and we'll see, because Achane didn't quite come through for us in fantasy leagues today. Jalen Waddle up with a rib injury. And there was success. Like you said, Theo Wees Burns, Jamel Dean for a long touchdown from Quinn Ewers. By the way, Quinn Ewers doesn't look overwhelmed. Quinn Ewers looks like there's something to work with there. Greg Dulcich making some plays. Jalen Wright coming on this year to say, hey, he isn't a bust. And you just saw this was an offense that's been conservative, but they've been winning. So again, it looks like the McDaniel era goes on. What does that mean otherwise? Well, you get to live down. It's like Saints fans, except we actually have a direction now, but you get to live in Miami. So just relive the 72 season over and over again, I guess.
Yeah, keep living your best in Miami, that's for sure. Right near the beach, boy. All right, let's get on to our next game. A couple games ago, oh my God, Drake May, leave him alone. Did he just win the MVP today? 42-10, Patriots over the Jets. Not a shock there. Jets are 3-13, just awful. Patriots are 13-3. They're hanging around. If Denver drops that game next week against the Chargers, then the Patriots are hanging around to get that number 1 seed. And okay, Drake May, 256, 5 of them things, and not a couple to one guy, not 3 to one guy. 5 different receivers getting touchdowns. If you started your Patriots, you ate today. You probably didn't start Austin Hooper. But there was conversation before this game, like, hey, Austin Hooper might play a little bit more. They'll go with some 2 tight end sets, and Hooper out there with his touchdown. Kyle Williams didn't get a touchdown. Well, there you go. Efton Chisholm did. And if you want to talk about someone that looks like, Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, whatever, that's Efton Chisholm. He's not Cooper Kupp, by the way, because I saw him at the Shrine game last year. There's your Shrine game bong rip for our stoner friend, Jason. Efton Chisholm on that stupid red turf. Oh, the red turf is so hard to watch. Anyway, like, he's like a knockoff Julian Edelman. He's not Cooper Kupp, but some skill there. Hunter Henry, 3 for 49 and a touch. Ramondre Stevenson, 5 for 55 as a receiver and a touch. 8 for 47 and a touch as a runner as well. Stephon Diggs, 6 for 101 and a touch on just 6 targets. Travion, 19 for 82 on the ground. Drake May was dealing today.
Yeah, and it was a bummer hearing Mac Hollins was going on IR with that abdomen injury before this one.
And that's why they said Hooper would play a little bit more
Right.
because Hollins wouldn't be out there as a blocker.
Right, and Butte was out with a concussion. We saw a little more Kyle Williams. He did draw a long pass interference, but you just saw what an amazing turnaround. And let's mention Josh McDaniels. Let's mention Mike Vrabel. Let's mention, of course, Drake May, who surprised everybody. But it was just so easy, just too easy. So, yeah, Stevenson had 2 touchdowns. And again, it was Stevenson, who we knew was a good all-around running back. And the drafting of Travion Henderson worked out in so much as they got the long speed plays from Henderson, very important in a couple of games. But they also lit a fire under Ramondre Stevenson. You could see that this year.
Mm-hmm.
And if you trusted him, even though Henderson rallied to get out of concussion protocol, Stevenson came through for you. Diggs, that worked out. And it felt kind of desperate, right? Because they were after Chris Godwin. Here's a blank check. And Chris Godwin said, no, I want to go back. Like we said, Tampa's got something they're building there. I want to go back there. Mike Evans, probably knowing Mike Evans had one more year. Let's keep the band together. And Stephon Diggs, it felt like, well, that was a fallback. And Diggs was ready to play before Godwin, impactful before Godwin, still impactful. And Efton Chisholm, Cecil, I'll give you another name. Dammy Amendola.
Dammy Amendola.
Yeah. So, yeah, but Drake May, it looked so easy. And you feel bad because this was in front of the Jets home crowd. This was a game that was garbage time in the third quarter.
Ugh.
So, and like you said, they might not be the number 1 seed if Denver can beat the Chargers. Chargers have only playoff seeding to play for at this point. So,
yeah, because the Broncos won the AFC West yesterday with the Chargers loss.
Right. And Jim Harbaugh, I mean, if you try to like psychoanalyze Jim Harbaugh, that's kind of scary. That's scary in the same way that when you psychoanalyze Bill Belichick in a different way. But they're both amusement park rides that turn not fun pretty quickly. So I don't know if Jim Harbaugh would push his guys out there and say, no, we're playing this straight up because we might see this team again. But I do think that Drake May sees in a year that we don't have Lamar, maybe not the Lamar that we know and love. You don't have Burrow, you don't have Mahomes. Is Drake May that quarterback? Because it rarely happens for a quarterback in their first postseason. But the way he's playing right now, it looks like he's plenty capable of it.
The thing with a young quarterback like Drake May is they don't know they're not supposed to be able to do that.
Right.
They don't know they're not supposed to be good in certain moments. So you just have that, ignorance is bliss. You have that youthful, like, I can make that play. And like, oh my God, he made that play.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Patriots can absolutely roll. As far as the Jets, Bloom, I know we haven't talked about him yet. I don't really need to, other than I hope Breece Hall comes to Denver next year in free agency. Because if Denver had just merely traded a 3rd rounder for Breece Hall right now, with RJ Harvey, they would be, amongst the strong. They're a 13-win team. You're like, you don't run the ball. So anyway, I look forward to Breece Hall playing for a team that's not the Jets.
Yeah, and you want to see that a la Saquon Barkley, right? To get him out of New York or New Jersey or wherever they are to a good offense. And I'll tell you, here's your one thing, Cease. Okay. Imagine if you were playing Madden against somebody that didn't really understand football. Okay. And you weren't moving the ball. They were not be able to move the ball against you at all. But then when they ran a fake punt, they got a first down. Like they finally got a first down. Okay. And then you stopped them again and they had a punt formation again. Only the most amateur person that didn't understand football would run a fake punt again. Right? Like if you just converted a fake punt,
right,
you would not run another fake punt. The Jets ran 2 fake punts in a row in this game. That's where Aaron Glenn is in front of their home crowd. 2 fake punts. That's what they had. That was their big weapon. That was their big we're gonna get them with 2. They're never gonna see the fake punt coming if we just did the fake punt.
God. Let's wrap it up with talking about Seattle 27, Carolina 10. Carolina's 8-8. Seattle's 13-3. Sam Darnold, 147 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. Jackson Smith, the Jigbud, 9 for 72. AJ Barner, 3 for 43, and the touchdown there. It was the Zach Charbonnet day. 2 touchdowns on the ground, 110 rushing yards, also a couple of catches for 12 yards. Kenneth Walker, 15 for 51. So there you go. Finally, also a couple catches for Walker. Finally, Seattle's like, let's just run the ball all day. 36 rushing attempts. Yes, please.
Yeah, and we await the outcome of the San Francisco Chicago game. We await the outcome of the Rams Atlanta game. But if either of those teams win, then Seattle still has to win next week. So, what did you really learn, Seattle? What did you really gain in this win? I mean, hey, Carolina has that old school kind of AFC North physicality. I mean, they're a physical team. And you go into the Rams went to Carolina's building and lost this year. So it means something. But in this game on offense for Seattle, once again, Kenneth Walker not getting going. You see how much kinetic energy this guy produces. It should result in more. It just rarely does. It's actually Zach Charbonnet. So, Kenneth, this is fantasy football for you. The old banana in the tailpipe. Kenneth Walker, finally, he's back. No, Zach Charbonnet actually is the one that comes on. A 25-yard run on 3rd and 15. There was a point early on in this game when Sam Darnold, I think it's Zach Wilson. Sam Darnold, because it was a Zach Wilson kind of play, he retreated like 20 yards and got intentional. It was 3rd and 30. Like one of those down and distances you should never see. Like, it's going to be one of those kind of Sam Darnold days. And he took a sack on the next drive, and Charbonnet got a 25-yard run on 3rd and 15. And then later on in that same drive, the Panthers were offside on a 3rd and short. Just things. It was a more competitive game was there for Carolina. And it was just a field goal. Nick Scorton, by the way, they got something there in Carolina, forced a fumble. Rashid Shaheed did have to leave this one to concussion. You had a big after Sam Darnold throws an interception in the end zone. Chuba Hubbard fumbles. So there were plays that could have turned this game if Carolina just could have taken advantage of momentum. A.J. Barner gets a touchdown. They had a 3rd and 21, and Horn commits a face mask penalty on 3rd and 21. The only thing you have to do is not commit a penalty. So this game was closer than the score makes it look. The defense showed the flaws in Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold he looked like a quarterback who could not win a playoff game in this game. However, Bryce Young even more so looked like a quarterback, probably because of Seattle's defense that could not win a playoff game.
Yes. Carolina, Bryce Young, 54 yards passing. It's not great, Bob. Had a rushing touchdown, and because of 54-yard passing, do I even need to talk about anybody other than maybe Rico Dowdle? Maybe.
Yeah. Well, they just got overwhelmed. I mean, you just watched this game, and we're back. We're back to is Bryce Young really the answer for a team? But against a very tough defense, you see how, for lack of a better way to put it, it isn't Cecil. It isn't just about his BMI or his height. He's just not a substantial presence as a passer. He's kind of more made out of vapor. He doesn't negotiate the pocket like a boxer. He doesn't find these arm angles. He's not his clock. You can watch Shedeur Sanders, and Shedeur Sanders' clock is faster. His metronome is faster, and he has courage, and he understands
that. And he's known for holding on to the ball too long.
Right.
But his clock's faster.
Right. But when he's processing the defense and making decisions,
yes,
it still moves faster than Bryce Young. Against a defense like Seattle, he was just overwhelmed. As a scrambler, he made some things happen. There was a 4th and short, and they threw a deep ball to Tedero McMillan, just like that worked against the Rams. Didn't work in this one. So you see that aggressiveness from Dave Canales. But they couldn't get over the hump. They were getting turnovers from Sam Darnold. And again, that Chuba Hubbard fumble was just a killer right after they got in. They had Mike Jackson played the double move on Jackson Smith and Jigba like it was meant for him. It was like he was running the ball as it was coming in. You're like, oh, well, Mike Jackson was the target of this pass because former Seattle Seahawk, by the way. Again, Bryce Young scrambling. That's it. He's scrambling basically. And Hubbard on 3rd down as a receiver, and Dowdle with a few nice runs. That's how they scored a touchdown. Even their last gasps drive, you don't even, at least Baker Mayfield, you're like, yeah, maybe there's no chance. Even Aaron Rodgers, there's a chance. And there wasn't even a chance. You didn't even feel like there was a chance for Bryce Young in this one, but there's still a chance to make the playoffs. And against Tampa, we saw this offense look pretty good a couple weeks ago. So, kind of in Seattle, I mean, these teams leaving you wanting more. Maybe this fantasy football season leaving you wanting more. But with very few exceptions, today we saw, again, players just laying it out there at a point in the journey when they're exhausted. They're at the point on the Oregon Trail when you've used up all your supplies. when you're having to use your bed sheet rolled up as like one of the tires on the wagon, so you can just get to have a chance to make it. And, I applaud that because I think that's what we keep coming back to. And of course, the people in our chat room here, I know it's 2 kind of blah games right now, but it's just so much fun. I'm going to miss it. This is kind of like our official last show of this fantasy football season. We're not going anywhere for the playoffs. We're going to have previews.
We're going to have Senior Bowl show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couch will be back in March. Thank you, everybody. But this kind of ends, this great chapter in engaging with this game, the way that fantasy football gives you that experience of it. And I think this year, more than any year, it's about surviving and being resilient and staying in the moment instead of looking back, which I think we all see the life lessons in that. Like we talk about hold on and we talk about shut them down. But really, it's about us all like in this community holding on to each other and occupying this space together for 20 years. Because someone in the chat room said, like, oh, don't shrug it off. Be proud of your accomplishment. But it's our accomplishment. All
of us
accomplish this because this is a community that keeps us coming back. And the football is at the center, but I like our little section in the stadium. I get excited. See, so I always was a little bit envious of season ticket holders. I've never had season tickets to a team, because you'd see the same people, especially baseball with 81 games. You see the same people, like that's your section, that's your people. You'd sit down and talk about like what's happened with the team since like the road trip, since the last time you saw them. It's like your people, and you are, at a certain point, you're as excited to see the people in your section as you are to watch the game and see what happens with your team. And that's really how I feel about fantasy football, both with football guys and with our community of the Audible. And I think that we have a future to look forward to. Like we found each other, we have this handshake, but there's so many other ways that we can be involved in each other's lives. And I certainly feel like looking forward to 2026 and beyond, that's what I'm thinking about, is ways that we can continue to share our gifts with each other and uplift each other and be there for each other. Because I feel you people out there. I feel your presence. You help me, you help sustain me. I want to do that for you. I think we can have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, so let's do just that. He is Sigmund Bloom. I am Cecil Lammey. It is 20 years now. Again, full disclosure, we're going to do a preview show, week 18, probably one full show. Hopefully you're not playing a fantasy championship in week 18. We still get I'm playing a champion or the 2-week championship, which is.
And we will have our projections and rankings. We'll do our best.
Yes. Going to have all that available at footballguys.com. We won't do a recap for week 18. We're going to do playoff preview shows. We usually don't recap the playoff shows. And it turns more into a football show than a fantasy football show. But, Bloom, it's an excuse to hang out. So
Yeah. Check in on each other. How are you doing? And also check in on the football world, because a lot of the things that we harvested for fantasy football championships today were set in motion in the off season, the non-playing season, as a wise man I know says.
And this is our 252nd episode.
Yeah.
Of the Audible this year.
We're lean and mean. That's a lean and mean Audible season.
We got Bob Harris on our daily news show. We've got our show as well. The one year when we pushed for like 400 episodes, I really wanted 400. I think we got to like 380 something. I think 250's good. 250, we're good. We're good. We got it there for you. We appreciate you all so very much. He is Sig. I am Cease, and getting Siggy with it in New Orleans. Okay. That's true. And then Little Big Man, one of our favorites. You're all our favorites. Another season cranking here. I like how Saldana said it's our suite.
Yeah.
This is our suite at the stadium. So let's enjoy.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And our suite is the spot. All right. He's Sig. I'm Cease. That's the Audible, everyone. Stay frosty.